Hallo.
Morgen.
Jeden Mal, wenn ich nach Berlin komme, das ist das erste Platz, ich besuche für deinen Keks.
Wie heißt er?
Itai. Das ist meine Frau.
Und was passiert, wenn sie es rausfindet?
Das passiert nie.
Ich darf ja eigentlich nicht darüber sprechen. Es gab einen Unfall in Jerusalem. Oren ist gestorben.
I was wondering if you need a worker here.
The cookies you made, they're very good.
You like them?
I would like to sell them in the cafe. Ow!
ענת, הוא לא יכול להשתמש בתנור, נו, תאבדי את הכשרות שלך.
Your husband, he died, right?
You know my son?
I'm sorry, I didn't know your son.
She doesn't want you here. We don't want you here.
I can't go. Was hast du gemacht?
Ich hab sie geküsst. Hier.
Und was hast du dann gemacht?
Liebe.
Okay. I guess this is the kind of movie you need to digest a little bit. To start with, great movie. This is the second time I've seen it, and it works so well even the second time. I want to start at the end. When we see Anat in the street, watching Thomas closing his bakery and biking away, without her doing anything, which mirrors a scene in the very beginning of the movie, when we see Thomas in the street watching Anat in her apartment, without him doing anything. Maybe you can say something more about this sort of repetition.
I don't know. I mean, I think that it's important for me to show that there is a connection between the people in the film, that they all have the same needs, the need to observe and the need to be a part of something, the need not to be alone, and the need to love and to be loved. And I think when Thomas comes to Jerusalem and he goes to look at Anat in her apartment, it's maybe it's a bit creepy, you know. It's a bit scary in a way, but he's doing it because he has to know who this woman is, and he has to see this house. The man he loved lived in this house. This was his house, and so he's coming, I think, with so much emotional charge. You know, he's very, very full of emotions, and the only thing he can do is observe. He cannot act. He cannot go to her. Eventually, he goes to her, and you know, works for her. But in that moment when he sees, he can only observe, and I think it's very similar to the end, because in the end she goes and she's just observing, because she also needs.
Yes, but she is in the end smiling.
Yes, yes.
And I'm curious, was there another sequence, was there another scene that you thought of, or you really wanted to cut there, maybe to save something for the next movie?
Well, I knew this is how it has to end. I had another scene, we wrote another scene, and we also shot a different kind of ending. But it was clear to me we don't want to use it because for me this was the end. And I think for her also. But
so you're only 37 years old, but this is a movie where we find a lot of losses. There's a lot of loss in this movie. And there is one scene that I really like, when the loss is sort of pushed away. And that's when Anat and Thomas is working in the kitchen behind the cafe. And she approaches him. And you know, when you watch that scene, you really don't know what's going to happen. You really don't know how he is going to respond. So I'm curious, how was it to direct that specific shot?
it was very scary to go to approach this, talking about how to make the scene, how to shoot it. It was a big challenge because the actors only knew each other 3 days before. And the thing is, just as a little background, this was a movie that got very, very small budget. It was made as a very low budget movie. So we didn't have time for rehearsal. We didn't have time for a lot of shots, a lot of takes. We shot 5 or 6, sometimes even 8 scenes a day. It was a very extreme shooting. So that scene, it was in this, I think, the 3rd or the 4th day. They only met each other, so it was kind of, you know, tension there, how to going to make it. But because I knew that we knew, me and my producer, we knew that that specific day when we shot that scene, the beginning of the day was very full. We had a lot of scenes with a lot of extras and all the scenes where all the people in the cafe sit. It was very, very stressful, and it was great because this is where the magic happened. When there is so much stress and so much, so much is going on, and then suddenly, okay, we're gonna shoot this scene. And what was, of course, was great as the 2 actors were just completely cooperative, completely open and happy about this. What I did basically is that I told them we're going to shoot the scene in 2 shots. We're going to have an open shot and a medium shot. And I told them we're going to start. I talked to each of them. I told them what to do, or what I think they should do, but I said, you do it in your own time. I'm not going to tell you like this, give you a sign. Just do it whenever you want and do it however you want. They only knew where they could go because of the camera. They cannot go there, but I gave them the freedom, and because I wanted to shoot it like a documentary. And then we started to shoot it, and we did first of all the long shot, and then they started. And whenever she approached him and they started to kiss, I stopped them. And I said, okay, let's do another take. And then we started again, and then again they started to kiss, and then I cut it again. And I did it 3 times. Then we moved to the medium shot, and then I let them do it. And in that moment, they were anxious to do it already. They really. So it was really a combination. On one hand, this whole stress around the production. On the other hand, this rhythm of work, and the fact that they really did it in their own rhythm. And so this was our.
But could you say that in some ways he has rehearsed this? Because a few times he's asking Oren, what did you do with her?
Well, it's a question of about the character or about the actor, because I think the character, he knew him for a year, more than a year. So I think he knew everything, because this was maybe like his game, his little fetish. He knew how to touch her, he knew how to approach her, he knew what to do. But she's the one who is doing.
Yeah.
She's the active one in that scene. So I think that everything he knew, everything he thought he knew, was not meaningful to him when he met her.
It's a new start. It's a new beginning.
When he go to Jerusalem, he has certain idea of this woman because he heard about her all this time. She was the wife of. But when he comes to Jerusalem and he learned to meet her and to know her, I think his entire view is changing and he sees something completely different than what he had imagined.
Okay. So someone said that instead you could have made a movie about the secular Jewish family in Jerusalem. But you didn't, and I guess there are reasons for that.
My father is religious, my mother is secular. So I grew up in a house which is always fighting on those values, and I think this is the main reason why I chose this, why I wanted to tell this story about this family. I think that if it would have been a secular family, I'm not sure, I mean it would have been a different story, but it was important for me to talk about two things. On one hand, the need of Oren, the guy who dies, his need to go somewhere else, to get away from this, so much that he has to go all the way to Berlin. So this is one story, and the other story is of Thomas. When he comes to Jerusalem, it's a different world that he doesn't know, and everything, the food and the Saturday and all this custom and all the tradition, it's for him it's like science fiction. So, and I think it's for me it's a much stronger situation to place him in that position where he has to find himself in it.
Because there is a few scenes. It is one very strong scene when Shabbos is approaching and you hear people shouting, Shabbos, Shabbos, and you see people walking the streets and they're going to their homes and they're going to have dinner with candlelight. Meanwhile, poor Thomas is sitting in this clean and very kosher apartment and he's so utterly lonely.
Yes.
So this sequence, it's like both about community and isolation.
Yes, he's really isolated from society. I think that also in Berlin he's like this. You know, he has his apartment, he has his job, his cakes, you know, but he's a very introvert person. He doesn't go out, and I think in Jerusalem when you arrive there, he's really completely alone. He's a very lonely person. Yeah.
So someone wrote that this is the best HBTQ movie for a long time, and I wonder, what do you think when you hear that?
I don't know. I'm not a fan of LGBTQ cinema. I don't have a problem with this film. My movie played in a lot of gay festivals. I'm gay. I find it hard to, let's say, define movies by a certain sexual identity. It's difficult. I mean, if it's a theme, if you put it around a theme, you play a couple of movies around the theme, okay. But to define it, to say this is a gay movie or this is a black movie, you know, I think we are 2020. We should aim to not put movies in such categories.
Because I guess you could say that in this movie you do cross quite a few borders. I mean, the distinction between religion, nationality, sex, gender is less obvious in some ways in this movie.
Yes, this is exactly the story I wanted to tell. It's characters who are refusing to, I mean, not consciously, they don't say it, I refuse to be a part of something, but they refuse to be a part of something. I mean, she's, Anat, for example, she's a secular woman. she's not religious. She tells to her brother-in-law, I'm not religious, I don't want to be religious, but she's still respecting the things, the laws, and Friday evening she's doing the Shabbat thing, and she asks her kid, do you want to do the blessing, yes or no, whatever you want, and he says, okay, let's do it. They do it, they sing it with all the heart, you know. So she's like in between, she has her own way. You know, it's there is so much complexity, there is so much, it doesn't have to be one specific way. And I think all the characters in the film, they don't want to be defined, not religious, not sexually, not nationality. They don't want to say, I am this or that or that.
Okay. So in the movie, we see one soldier, we can hear a helicopter, and Oren is not killed in a terror attack, he's killed in a car accident. So, was that a conscious decision to stay away from politics?
Yes, of course, but for me the film is very political. The way I see it, it's a very political movie because it says it's not about this big political thing. It's about the personal choices and personal sacrifices people have to do because of what society expects them to do. There was always a question when I was writing the script, you know, how can you make a movie about Jerusalem without the occupation, and I'm very leftist, I'm very open about my views, I'm considered a radical leftist. The people are very radical, you know, believe in equality and things like this, radical. But this is not a story. And to take a certain story, to impose on it all kind of ideas and ideologies, just to make it politically correct or whatever, it's missing the point.
I agree with that. I just think that a typical Swedish audience will try to interpret anything Israeli into political terms. So, if someone in this audience leaves this room after our session and says, I really love that movie, and I really dislike that country. Would that bother you? Do you feel that you have, as being an Israeli film director, having your movies shown internationally, is there some sort of special responsibility, some sort of special care that you feel?
Very difficult question, because it's something I'm confronted with all the time. All the time. I can talk about love. I will have to confront it. I will talk about humanity. I will have to confront it. Even regardless movies, you know, if you see the discussion, I live in Berlin, and if you see the discussion on a table and you have an Italian and you have you have a French and you have an American and you have an Israeli, it's like it will make sense to start talk about the Middle East and not about the French, you know, which is much more interesting, I think, I don't know. It's a question. I mean, I don't feel responsibility because I'm not responsible for the politics of this country. I object to the politics of the country. However, I do feel that this movie, the way I see it, it has a lot of love for not for Israel as a country, but for this society, for Jerusalem. And many people I know who saw the movie, I mean, people I don't know, people who approached me saw the movie and they said, well, we want to go to Jerusalem now. It's like it's a tourist propaganda. This movie. I didn't mean it to be tourist propaganda, but I say to the people, you know, it's like if people ask me, I'm saying it very openly. Israel is a
you'll get more money for the next movie, I'm sure.
I'm not sure. Don't worry. No, it's because I say to people, Israel is a very complicated country politically. It's in a very bad shape. More than ever in the last 15 years, and it's going to be worse. But it's a beautiful country to visit, and it's a wonderful and fascinating place, and of course I would recommend people to go and go there, so, you know.
Well, I think in some ways you make both Berlin and Jerusalem more normal cities in this movie.
Yes, normal cities with normal people, and yeah, for sure.
So I have non-Jewish Israeli friends who will see anything Israeli on television, in the movie theaters. They love Israeli movies. They think they are the best. And to some extent I agree. There are many, many good Israeli movies from this small, tiny country in Western Asia. And the question is, how come? Do you have any ideas why the quality is so high?
Very simple. There is it's a combination of two things. I believe it's my understanding of it. The first thing is that Israel, because it's a combination of an immigrant country, a Middle Eastern, a Mediterranean country, and a country which has a huge complexity of identities. You have stories. The stories you have, I don't think it's if you ask me why the movie that said the first thing to have a good filmmaking, let's say, industry or variety is that you have an incredible amount of stories.
My wife would say you have to have conflict.
You have conflict everywhere. But
maybe more in Israel?
In Israel, I feel is that the conflict is everywhere. It's everywhere. It's on the dinner table in every subject, because there are issues of ethnic background, there are issues of religion and secularity, there are issues of economy, there is an issue of different cities which have a very large distinction between economical, let's say, development. There are so many stories, and there is the history and the past, and there is, of course, the whole situation with the Palestinians, and also there is the Israeli Arabs, the Arabs who are Palestinians but not official Palestinian, and which are Christian or Muslim. You know, it's like it's such a big combination of conflicts, and this build, I think, it brings a great amount of stories. And the other thing that happens that in the last 20-25 years. We have had a strong development in the film industry, simply because there was a law that was passed in 1999 which gives budget for films. So then the quality became higher, and just a lot of people, a lot of film it was possible to make more movies, and there was also a co-production agreement so it was just financially possible. Now I think it's going to stop. Yes, because now everything regarding culture is going to stop in the next 10 years.
What do you mean?
I say it's going to stop. It's going to be no. I think there's going to be no more culture. It's going to be all censorship, and it's going to, because it's just an extreme right-wing government. Okay. And for them, the idea of culture is only need to serve propaganda. And when you do that, you cannot make any more stories because there are no conflicts, you know.
So let's end up, I'm curious about the reception of this movie. Maybe you could say a few things about the reception in Israel and also in Germany and the US. And what are the differences, for example, when you look at the reviews?
I don't see any difference much. I think that, the film was received very well in Israel. It was very successful, both in the box office. There was a lot of people who came to watch the movie, and in the critique. So, and it won awards and this. So it was very well received in Israel, and also in the USA, and also in other countries. It was distributed very well. In Germany, it's a different story. It was received very well, also by the audience and by the critique. But in Germany, we had a very small distribution because the German distributors didn't want to show the movie.
Why?
They didn't like it.
Why?
I don't know. Well, they told me all kind of reasons. They thought it would not be successful. They thought it would not make any audience come to watch.
What is your suspicion?
My suspicion is that the German film industry are just bullshit. And the fact is that they don't make any good movies. They make once a year, they make a good movie. I'm very sorry. This is the truth. And I think the decision makers are the problem in Germany. There's a big problem. The decision makers really have an issue because the audience, we released the movie in very few cinemas, but the cinemas were full. They were full all the time. People went crazy. They saw the movie twice, 3 times. We even sell DVD now. It came out, the DVD came out in November. Where do you sell DVD? You don't sell DVDs. We sell DVD. So it was received well by the audience, but the decision makers, we also didn't get any funding in Germany, any money for the production. But also in Israel we got very little, so, but you know, I don't know.
Okay. So maybe there are questions from the audience. Lizzie?
Yeah, my name is Elizabeth. There are a lot of breaking commandments in this movie. They do adultery and they lie. So I wonder, Thomas, he gets punished directly after he lied to her. But Oren, he can go on for a long time with lying, and then he gets destroyed and killed when he tells his wife. So, do you have any thoughts about that?
Yes, all the time. Because when I wrote it, I was always asking myself about guilt and about sin. And also about judgment. I mean, I was always asking myself, can I judge them? Can I judge Owen for lying and this? I was thinking a lot about this. It was, I think it's very, very, yeah, it's a large part of the story of the piece. I don't know what can I say about it. I mean, I think it's something that I, as a secular person who has religious roots, I mean, I grew up in a house where I didn't go to religious school, but we did all the, like, we couldn't drive the car on Saturday and this, and we had to do something. All my friends were taking the bicycle on Yom Kippur. I was not allowed to take it. And then when I was 16, I came out of the closet as gay. And my father is religious, all his family is religious, so I always had to, I was really thinking a lot about the question of, am I doing a sin? Is it okay? Is it not okay what I'm doing? And I think that all the characters in the movie, they have these feelings and they have these issues, and they think about it and deal with it. Yeah. So.
Okay. More questions?
But still, Oren, he goes on lying and committing adultery for quite a long time, and he lives a good life. And then when he finally is honest and he tells his wife, after that he directly gets killed. So that sort of, I wonder a bit why the story is built in that way.
I don't think that he was fine all this time that took until he told his wife, until he confessed. It was more than a year. And I don't think he was happy and not suffering. I think he suffered greatly this year. I think he was constantly asking himself, I mean, he loves his son very, very much. And I think he loves his wife also, and he loves his mother, and he has a brother. I mean, I think that he really, if I tell his story, from that moment he started to have this affair until the moment he died, or until the moment, let's say, he confessed and he decided that I think he suffered greatly. I think he suffered really, really greatly. I mean, I think it's a great suffering to leave your family for the man you love, or to discover that you need to let's say, discover that you don't love women, but society wants and needs you to be married and have children, which in Israel is a holy thing. To have children is like the most important thing. So, I don't know, I think he suffered greatly. No.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for a great movie.
אוי ואבוי.
אתה לא בסדר, 6 חתיכות.
הכל נוגע בהכל. נעים לי מאוד.
גדי יעזור פה במוסך.
יופי, מה הוא יעשה פה?
מה הוא יעשה פה? הנהלת חשבונות ויחסי ציבור. לא לשולף.
צריך מסאז' בכף הרגל.
מה זה?
אמא עושה לי כל ערב.
אמא יש רק אחת.
איי, אתה עושה חזק. יש לך חבר?
כן.
יש לו טעם טוב לחבר שלה.
יש המון דגים בים.
אני לא אוהב דגים.
אתה מתרחץ לבד?
לא.
שלום. איך קוראים לך?
הם לא נותנים לי את האוכל כמו שאני רגיל.
מה יש לך במוסך?
יש לי אותך.
היי, גדי.
אני רואה שהתחלת להתאהב בו.
התחלתי להתרגל לכל השטויות.
היית טוחן אותה אבא?
טוחן? איפה שמעת את זה?
אני יודע.
סוד כמוס לפרה ולסוס. מה?
אבא, תן לי נוג.
השתגעת?
Goldwasser.
I usually start after the screening with a little anecdote. I offer the producer to hand out tissues to the public that goes into the theater. He says, "Are you mad? We don't have the budget for so much tissues." I invented this just to calm down.
So I already had this interview with you in a cafe in Tel Aviv. So instead of me asking you all the questions, I would like to tell the audience the story behind the film. It's not autobiographical, but there are a lot of biographical details that correspond with your own life. I think you should tell the audience.
Okay, people tend to think mistakenly that it is an autobiographical story, and it is not. It's based on a true event that happened, I don't know when and where. I didn't investigate so much about it. The connection that I have with this subject is that we have, me and my wife, our firstborn child is a person with special needs. And the story started 38 years ago, like Gadi. He was born and he was a lovely child, very intelligent. He used to communicate when he was 2-3 months old with the eyes, and we were so happy about him. And each night, when we put him to bed, we stood by him, and I told my wife, we succeeded with him. With him, it's a success. And faith countered us, and at the age of 6 months, we found out he has a special problem, which I will not trouble you about. And the neurologist that told us about it, he was a very insensitive person, and he said the word retardedness to this lovely baby, and we were thrown into this sea with this verdict, knowing nothing about it, and knowing nothing about what to do about it. He started to get cortisone, and he was blown up like a balloon. And there we were, trying to get our life into some kind of order with this verdict hanging about us. Now, I heard that 80% of couples that have autistic children get divorced. 80%. It's in Israel. I don't know if it's a worldwide phenomenon, but it's a crazy figure. And for us, it did the opposite. We united and we bonded, and in some paradoxically manner, it helped our personal career. My wife was in fashion, she was a designer, and she was painting, she liked painting, and she studied art, and she decided from that moment to stop with fashion and to become a painter, which she's doing until now, very successfully. I was a beginner filmmaker. I did commercials, and I had an idea of a first film to make, but I'm not a very ambitious person, and to be a director, film director, especially in Israel, to be a film director is a disease, it's not a profession, and you should be aware of it. And this event put some pepper in where I needed it to be put, and I decided to make the first film feature, and I did. So paradoxically, it helped us, our personal career. But still, we were, you know, in this sea, and this way is not straight. It's not a highway. It has ups and downs. From the age of 15 to 20, he went through 12 brain surgeries. It was very troubling way, and we were trying to find a way to live as normal as we can. And I developed some imaginable wall around my heart, and I said, no, nothing will penetrate and kick me down to the earth, because it's very easy to get down each time you have a news, each developing of this medical history. And one of the stepping stones of this wall was the decision I made not to deal with my problems in my profession. It was easier and more comfortable for me to deal with other people's troubles and problems than to deal with mine, and I insisted on it. And again, I mean, I made the first feature I made was Mitachat La'af, maybe those young Israelis that were babies probably when the film got out, but it's a film that stays on. It's about outlaws that break into the police station and steal a safe with money. And they were, you know, very far from me, but I felt comfortable with them.
And still, you made this film, and I wonder why. I read an interview with you also in Haaretz. Why now? What made you ready to take those family material and create that film? Why now? I also read that now in Israel, quite a lot of films are being made that deal with people with special needs on the spectrum, a bull. So is it the society that's been more acceptable, or did you have a need to let it out now?
Well, it's part of the whole thing, the atmosphere. But you know, most questions that are being asked to the directors have very banalic answers. You know, Nevo Kimchi, Gadi, made a small part of a retarded person in a TV series. And he told me that people recognize him in the street, and he has an admiring page in Facebook, 10,000 likes. And it was strange to me because I thought public is being repulsed by those characters. And I saw in the internet, and I wrote him praises, and in 1.5 lines I wrote about the story that I heard 12 years ago from my friend that tried to convince me to make this story. And I said, no, I'm not dealing with my problems. And I escaped 12 years ago, 12 years, and he called me, Nevo. He said, it's a wonderful story, let's do it. No, I don't, and he didn't let me go, and he actually started me on. So it's a very banal answer, you know. Nevo made me do this film. Otherwise, I wouldn't have dared to enter this.
Yes, and you who are watching Shtisel, you recognize probably Dovelik Glickman. So the cast is fantastic. Evelina Goel also, you really managed to pick fantastic people. But I want to get back to the personal point, because I remember that you tell me when we sat in Tel Aviv that Mira is here, the mother and your wife, that you know, still, of course, these things don't go away. You have a child with special needs, and he stays a child, or son or daughter with special needs. And you said, it's very difficult for me to take it. My wife deals with it much better. She has much more patience. She's more mechila. So there is something, you know, with in the film, of course, the father is the one who left the family, and he says that he couldn't take it. What is it? How did you deal with it throughout the years, except for saying, okay, I'm not dealing in my films with it, but did it give you positive energy, or was it something that was tearing you apart? How do you deal with it now? You told me some interesting things.
Yeah, once I was convinced that this wall would fall down, but it wouldn't help me to work with those materials. It was easy because we never hid our problem. All our friends knew it. We didn't hide it. I just didn't want to, you know, when you work on a film, you work for a few years and you dive into it. And I was afraid. I said it's more comfortable not to do it. But once the wall was broken, it felt very easy. It's the easiest film I've directed. I had no hesitations. During the filming, we had 60 days shoot, which is very short. And there's, for directors, sometimes it's difficult to decide. So many times they say, okay, we shoot 2 versions. We'll shoot this version, and then we shoot this version, and we'll decide in the editing room. I had never such thing happen. I knew everything, I felt everything, and the crew felt it, and it was the easiest film for me to direct, which is also paradoxically, but our story is a big paradox.
And there was, of course, the closing of the circle, because he's a special need kid, that, well, at the end, of course, he's the caretaker of the father, and everything that he learned from the father, and he's using exactly the same terminology, and there is a closure of a circle, but is it realistic? Is this something that can happen?
Well, I wouldn't bet on it, but the real story, the real event was a very tragic event. the father, the court didn't approve this donation, and the father died. And I said I will take this tragic story and convert it into an optimistic story, because I have some part as being a father to a special need, to one of the committee of the parents of special needs. I have some responsibility to improve the image and improve the consciousness of public to those people that usually we don't look into them. We see only what they don't have. We don't see what they do have. And I decided to make it an optimistic story with an optimistic ending, which will convey a message of hope. Many parents came to me and said, listen, suddenly we see that the light at the end of the tunnel, because the greatest fear of parents is what is going to happen to our children when we are not around. And suddenly they said, you gave us hope. And usually my films are not with agenda. They are with agenda, but it's hidden in the layers of the story. And here I had some personal agendas, but it's in the layers of the story. But this is the film that I did for the agenda. And maybe it's a little too pushy, trying to, you know, I insisted to leave the shot of the two hands of Adela at the last funeral, although it wasn't needed, but I wanted to bring some much positivity to the end of the story and make it a feel-good ending.
One of the, in my opinion, moving episode in the film is when the father actually says to Dr. Khoury, we say, why don't you take a kidney from your son? This is your only chance. And he says, does he look like someone, in Hebrew it's even sound better, but does he look like someone who needs to lose anything? More than what, you know, נו נראה לך מישהו שצריך לקחת ממנו משהו. It sounds different in Hebrew. But yes, according to the film and to the, if we finish on a positive note, then the special needs people can contribute, can give. They have a right to do that.
They have the powers. They have the powers and they have the wisdom of the heart, I call it. People call it intelligence רגשית. Intelligence רגשית, emotional intelligence. I call it the wisdom of the heart. They have plenty of this. And they have a lot of things that we regular people don't have and don't really see because we don't really look at them. But if we look at them, and I try to portray Gadi as lovable as can be, so you could look into him and get into his soul. And I hope I succeeded.
You certainly did, Jan Kool. I'm going to open for you. If you have questions, I just want to ask, when Gadi is singing in the restaurant and everyone's happy and the father hears one of the guys saying, Kochav dafuk nolad, a crazy star is born.
Fucked up.
And there his reaction. May I ask you, has that happened to you? Has you ever defended your son that way?
Ori was such a lovely boy. He conquered everybody with his personality. We had no problems, no when you got all words escape you. We had no stigmas. he had no stigma. He was so conquering everybody. But I know that other people, he lives now in a village with of people with special needs. There are 150 people there, and they have, many of them have stigma problems. He didn't like the film, he didn't watch it until the end. He said, "This is how you see me?" And he told Mira, when I was young, I had a dog, boxer, that I loved very much, and we called him Gadi. He told Mira, he gave me a name of a dog. I said, "It's not you, it's not." Although I took many characteristics of Uri to Gadi, the fact that he starts with every woman he sees, and when she says she's occupied, your boyfriend has a good taste, and he laughs to his jokes more than all the people around him. He showers with glasses and goes out of the shower naked. Many characteristics, those fantasies of being a singer, of being a composer. Although he wrote poems from the age of 7. This poem that that Gadi wrote, Uri wrote it when he was 10 or 10 and a half. So he was very talented.
And you have another son, Amitai,
yes,
who edited the
who
film.
edited the film.
And so you told me that it was very difficult for Amitai because all the attention was going to Uri naturally, and there was...
Yes, he had a hard time, you know. The parents are dealing with his brother all the time, and he's kind of left aside. So this was another issue. Brothers of people with special needs have their own problems, and it's big. He was so nice and so introvert, so we didn't feel it until he was 14, and then everything broke out, hell broke out, and he was lucky enough that it happened in an early age, so we could take care of him, and now he's flourishing.
So you saw this film a few times, I assume, and still here you're telling me that you got very emotional?
Yes, this time
yeah.
I got very emotional.
Why? Something. Do you have any questions?
Maybe the event, maybe Stockholm, the weather, I don't know. It's so cold, I have my eyes dropping tears from the cold.
Does the audience have any questions? Any comments? Anything you want to share?
You must ask one question that I've been asked all the screenings I was attending. Let's see if you're going to ask it.
You said that you didn't want to bring the private things into your work earlier. But did working with this movie bring you closer to your feelings or insights of being a father of a child with special needs?
Nothing new. I knew everything. I felt everything. I've been in all those corners already many times. Nothing is new to me. I'm sorry I'm disappointing you. But I told you there are banal answers to many questions. Like people ask me, why shoelaces, why laces? And I have a banal answer. The first scene we wrote was the scene with the inspector from the Social Security, that she's testing him. And when we finished, he had to give a name to the file, so we wrote laces. Temporary title, and it kept on. And when we finished editing, I said, listen, we have to find some meaningful name. What is laces? What is shoelaces? What is the audience going to know something about the story? And Itamar, my son, the editor, said, but it's a very nice name. it is mystical. I said, yes, but I want to give some smell. And this film, it is the first film that refused me many times, including the title. We didn't find any other title. The film refused many of the score, the musical score. We thought maybe we should make a very moving, very emotional score, and the film said, no, smaller. And we obeyed.
Any question?
Nobody's going to ask me why I killed the father? Yes. Each screening somebody says, why did you have to kill the father? Well, I have a very specific answer. One is the less important, is the style. You know, every director wants to have some style to his films or to his film. And because of the low budget and because of the harsh elements in the story, the style of the story is kind of almost documentary. It feels documentary. It's a netto. I don't have time to the cinematography and all kind. Only the story, only the characters, only the issues. And if the father would have been alive after the operation, which is 98% of the time, it would be kind of a mediocre, happy ending. Nothing to write home about. Gadi would go back to the garage and try to please his father, and you know, every director wants to have the audience come to some climax. No climax in it. This is the style, which is not as important as the real reason, the philosophical reason, that I needed, in order for Gadi to keep on going, I needed to move the father aside, to get him out of the picture, so Gadi can develop by his own. The father brought him to this level, now he has to move aside, and Gadi should carry on by himself. So I had to kill him. You know, when in the rough cut of the editing, we made a screening for both actors and their wives. And Oved, the father, told me that when he saw that his bed is driven into the operating room, he said he felt maybe he should not die, maybe he should keep on living. That's the actor that knew everything. So I know that people get annoyed sometimes and feel very sorry. I feel very sorry also, but it was needed for the optimistic message.
Thank you, Yankul. Are there any questions, any comments?
Am I the first one to ask if the face of the father has a similarity to Bibi Netanyahu?
He's a very famous and very veteran comedian. He's a comedian. And I was hesitating about the casting of the father because the character of the father is very harsh, very closed, very very closed and very unsympathetic, because he feels, for 36 years, he feels guilty. He doesn't let himself enjoy life. And I needed an actor with a warm heart that would penetrate through this harsh character. And I saw when I was hesitating about Oved, I saw him interviewed on TV. He was walking in the park, feeding street cats. There are a lot of wild street cats in Tel Aviv. Now, we have 2 cats at home, and in my trunk I have also a bag of cat food, and I give the cats in the neighborhood. But what we realized is that the street cats loved him, and they brushed into him. Now I know when I approach a street cat more than 30 centimeters, they go back. They don't let me touch them. And those cats, those wild cats, were all over him. Now cats have very, very strong and special sensitivities. And I told Mira, they probably feel that he's a good person. And I needed a good person that his real quality would penetrate and go out in the character, and it happened very well.
And he's a fantastic actor.
He's
one of the best in Israel. So and he really managed to depict all those transitions in the film, I think. And in your opinion, when was the moment of the change of heart here? When did he fall in love? When Ilana tells him you're falling in love? Because there is something there.
I think he starts to realize it when he goes to this institute that I manage with this peruke.
Did you recognize him with the peruke? He was there.
You know, another banalic answer. The producer said, we're going to pay 3,000 shekels to an actor for half an hour. Well, you do it. I said, but I'm not an actor. Okay, come on, you do it. And I said, how do I make a cook without being an actor? And then I realized, everybody that wears this has something to hide. He's cheating somebody. Okay, so in the midst of him giving the checks, this event happens that they're treating the patients poorly. And he realizes, wait, I'm not going to give my son to this place. And see, this was the turning point in his relation.
Anyone? Question? Comment? Otherwise, I will conclude the discussion. Thank you very much.
12 points go to...
Welcome to Universal!
Yes!
You never know, you fall in love, your blood...
מה זה אמור להביע? זה בכלל בעברית הדבר הזה?
להקת ענת Waxman שמורכבת מ5 נשים וגבר אחד תייצג אותנו בתחרות היוניברסום.
מאמין שאנחנו נוסעים ליוניברסום?
אנחנו נהפוך אתכם למה שאתם עוד לא חלמתם להיות. משהו קול, משהו שיביא את הבאז. בקיצור, משהו רובי. קולט הראש?
One, two, three, four, freeze! יופי עופר.
עיר מספר 6.
את יצאת מדעתך עם ליברסונג? You're crazy to drive us crazy like that.
S'il vous plaît.
May I be excused?
Directly from the bakery, Anat. Anat Waxman is one of Israel's most known actresses, also known from this movie, but from the stages. You played
Shakespeare, you played a lot of things on the stage.
I'm a stage actress actually, and I'm doing each 7 years a movie. This movie I did 7 years ago, and this year I did another movie. So, you know, it's a hobby, it's not really work, because it's a miracle when somebody calls you, and this one was without audition, so what do I care?
And without audition means that the director, Eytan Fox, just thought of you when he wrote this movie, actually.
Yes,
and this
yes,
part.
I thought about it, yes.
When you see it, what do you think now?
Oh, I think it's a very cute movie. I'll tell you a secret, okay? When we did the first read, the director, Eytan Fox, put the Eurovision songs, okay? And it was really moving. And then before we shoot the movie, we shot. They didn't have the rights, right? They are
for the songs.
For the songs. And they called it, it's the Eurovision contest. Can you understand that it's the Eurovision?
Yes.
Now, the main star is not in the movie. You know, it's songs from all kinds of
periods.
Yes. And I think the movie could be better with the songs that we all know, like ABBA, like Cliff Richard, like all the songs we all know. So it makes it a bit weak, in my opinion.
We loved your song, though.
Anat Waxman,
yes.
So optimistic, yes.
When you see this song, for me, it's like Tel Aviv, New Yorkish story.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said escapism.
Yes, we need in our tough country those kinds of movies because you know Israel, you know where we live, you know we're surrounded all kinds of cousins, and we need to escape from our reality. Yes, so I think it's important to do those things, not about wars and religious and Arabs and fights and wars, and I think it's really important to do those movies. Light and funny, you know, as an actress in the theater, I'm a comedian, needless to say.
Oh, you were so angry there, yeah.
I was very serious in this movie. You know, the scene with the French actor, he's a big star in France. France. Now, I did the scene with him. Now, he doesn't speak English. So it was like this. I heard, I didn't understand a word that he said. And I supposed to react to, you know, when he's going to finish, what does he say? It was a really funny situation, but it was really funny, and he's a good actor. What did we talk about?
No, just a moment. We talk about escapism, but about this French. But he spoke English, so was it like dubbed, the English?
No, he doesn't know English. He just said, and you know, but it came out fine. So
yes,
if you understand, so okay.
They say in the movie, one evening we will show that we are a normal part of the world.
Yeah.
They say in the movie about this escapism. But it's also something about the bubble of Tel Aviv. Could you explain how different Tel Aviv is from the rest of Israel?
Tel Aviv it's a country, you know, it's a different area in all Israel, you know. They say we are disconnected from the people, from the state, from the, I don't know, but it's not true. And, you know, we have culture in this city, and all kinds of people from all cities around Israel come to this city. It's very cultural, theater and opera and ballet and Oad Narin and whatever. And I'm really proud to be one of these Tel Aviv people.
Why?
Because it's a fun city. We really special and
interesting.
I
feel like the Eurovision. Well,
and interesting people with lots of humor and you live. You know, Israel, it's so tough, and really those days, I don't want to speak about it, but in Tel Aviv it's more fun. You're worried, you're mad, but it's like New York, you know, actually, Tel Aviv. What else do you want me to say about Tel Aviv?
Well, you were born in Yafo, in Tel Aviv.
In Tel Aviv. I was born, and then we went to Jerusalem. I was raised in Jerusalem, which is a very, very holy city. You know, you feel the Shechina.
Lizzie,
Shechina. You feel the all holy
sanctity.
thing.
Yeah.
What?
Sanctity
on your head. It's really, and it's cold, like almost here. It's cold and it's dark. And for me, Tel Aviv was a world. Like I went to a different country. And that's the reason when after the army, you know, when I was 18, I went to the army, and from there I went to Tel Aviv because it's free. You can, every time I went to Tel Aviv, I could breathe again, you know. It gives you a lot of freedom and the sea and the sun, and you know, it's what are we talking about?
We're talking about Tel Aviv, and we're talking about you and your movie. And it's about the Eurovision contest, or the Eurosong, and in Tel Aviv actually, right now, there are some kind of preparations for the...
Oh yeah, we are the host of the Eurovision in about 2 or 3 months. You know,
May, yeah.
Yeah, you know Toy, you know the song?
Could you do it?
I'm not Toy. Still, you stupid boy. No.
Yes, with Netta.
You know? No, this is art, people. Serious. Do you know the Eurovision? Do you? You know ABBA, it's the most beautiful thing that happened from the Eurovision. Why are you so silent and serious, for Christ's sake?
But can you feel the Eurovision fever in Tel Aviv now?
Yes, in Tel Aviv they're all very exciting, and they're preparing, and it's 2 nights. 2 nights, yes, it's very expensive. I don't know where the money comes from. And we know now the Israeli song, it's a different song. And there are no tickets, there's a problem with the tickets, and it's a big wow thing in Israel. Yesterday I went to the ABBA Museum, and on the way I fell down. Yeah, on the way to the tram.
So you have like an ABBA injury from Stockholm.
And there I was dancing with the holograms of the ABBA like a stupid woman, and I was so happy. I really feel excited to be here with this movie. When your ABBA, you brought your ABBA the beautiful present to the world, and now the Israeli host it feels nice that in this month. My English is so, you know, I have such a vocabulary in Hebrew. I feel so stupid in English. I'm searching for simple words, and I feel so dumb, and I hear myself, and it sounds so horrible, like a tourist. It's horrible.
Beseder gamur, he says here.
Maybe I'll speak in Hebrew. Most of you understand Hebrew? No.
I think no. I think partly yes. But can you explain to us, I mean, Israel is not even in Europe. How can you win the Eurovision?
Greece is in Europe?
Yes.
So why not us?
European this
I don't know
interview.
how it became like, I don't know. Can you explain me why Israel suddenly is a Europe state?
Politics.
Politics.
Politics,
yes.
he says.
When we lose, all Israeli says it's politic. We were wonderful, but actually it's politic. The Russian, you know, gives the Russian, the Yugoslavian gives all the countries that, you know, it's politician.
Anat, but now Israel is not only about Eurovision, huh? It's also about politics because you have an election coming up before the Eurovision.
Yeah, did you hear about our election, our government, our leader? So I'm not going to say nothing. You know, 4 years ago, after the elections, they interviewed me. And it was like a
trap.
It was a trap. They want to hear my voice, what do I think about and I said my opinion. Since then, nobody says anything. We'll wait. She's going out. Okay, bye-bye. You and your phone.
What happened?
They made an interview and it was really a trap. And I said things about the government, about Bibi, about the public, the people, whatever. And it was the hardest week I ever had. They lynched me in Israel about what I said. People wrote SMS, we're with you, we think the same like you, but nobody said anything. I was the stupid one who spoke. Before I came here on the plane, they asked me to come to a TV interview or panel, which they speak about why the artist doesn't talk
about politics.
About politics, after what they did to me, after what I had to go through. So I said, do you think it's a really smart idea to interview me after what I had to go through? And she said sorry. But many times they tried to frame me. Yes, yes.
Frame me. Yeah.
But these days, you know, the bottom line is nobody talks.
So no artist talks about politics today?
No, the one who
dared.
The one who dared, Bibi himself. Yes.
Answered her on Instagram.
On the Instagram, this is the most important thing in Israel, to respond an opinion of modelist or
she was
actress.
A model, yeah.
She's a model, she's an actress, she's a host, she's a whatever. So this is the situation, and this is why we need movies like that. In the theater, I prefer comedy. I feel it's healing. I feel the country. I'm about to cry.
But what did you say?
Just a minute. It surprised me. No, wait. We have really tough area, and it's a mission to make the people happy and laugh and forget for 1 hour, 2 hours our life. And that's my mission, to make people happy. That's it. I don't want to say too much. I'm afraid someone will take takes his phone, and they did such horrible things to me. They asked me things on phone, and then I saw it on TV. They recorded what they spoke to me on phone. It's dark. So it's really important to be happy and laugh and forget for a few moments. That's it. It's so simple.
Long live comedy.
Yeah, just comedy. The big drama.
The next movie we will see tonight is not a comedy.
Okay.
It's called Working Woman.
Yeah.
And it's about a young girl, or not very young, she's a mother of 3, she's married. And she looks for a job, she gets a job, and her boss makes her sleep with him. It's about the Me Too. What was the Me Too like in Israel? We were before our times.
Yes, because our president is in jail because of what the things he did to some women in his office. And now with the Me Too, all the stories came out, and men just vanish, you know.
Eliminated. Yeah, they told stories about these men.
About these men, and these men just, they don't, they get fired, they don't work, and like in, how is it in Sweden? It's the same? Do you have problems like that? The Me Too stories and main people that, horrible stories.
Yeah, even someone committed suicide because of...
really?
Yeah, it's a long story.
Ah, okay.
I'll tell you later. A theater man, actually.
Okay, so there's theater man, there's an actor that now he's on a trial because of things that he done. And, but I think it become, let's see.
Like a monstrous.
Like a monstrous, you know, you see all kinds of interviews. Me too, someone touched me too, before 40 years ago, 25 years ago, when I was a child, when I was okay. You know, you need a balance. And it seems like people use it to promote themselves with this Me Too thing. But it's a very serious thing, and it has really strong power on the society, and those men are punished. That's it. They leave their jobs. I saw in my son's school there was a minister that
that was accused of sexual abuse?
Yes, and he was there, but nobody saw him. Like, he has a sign on his forehead, and it's
a harsh...
it's a bang for for those people. Now it's fresh and it's new and all those stories, but the good thing that happened, that those men cannot act like they did. And men are afraid to speak to a woman. Can I say you look good? Can I say hi? Can I look at you? Can I... there's a show now I'm playing in, and there's an old actor, and he asked, so what's the problem? He said that, so what's the problem? I told him, no, you cannot speak like this anymore. No, it's a different
word.
It's a different
era.
word.
Yeah.
Yes. And they're all terrified from women, and I know that there are some men that they are afraid that a few stories will come out because they know what they did. And they are shaking and they are waiting and they don't know when and where it's going to pop. So it's a good thing, Me Too, but we need the proportion. I think that it will take time till it will become proportional, proportionally.
Yeah, proportional.
And the men will know how to react. Oh, actually, nobody did this to me. I'll tell you a story. One of the men, we need to finish? No. One story for the end. One story for the end. There was a very popular
communication
media person
yeah.
that he wasn't look at you and speak to you. He was.
Oh, he was taking off your clothes by his eyes.
He was taking off your clothes like this, and he did this to me, and I said, what do you think are you doing? Someone will speak about that. He doesn't work anymore because women talk about him. But the reason they don't get me is because I have a big mouth. I'm a strong woman. I grew up with 3 brothers. Actually, I'm a man.
You're a man.
I'm a man. And it's a bit, Mali.
Intimidating, yeah, insulting or intimidating. Yeah.
Why? Why didn't you try? I'm not beautiful, I'm not the Why? Because I'm strong and I'm
I put them into place.
Yes. Don't mess with me. Please don't mess with me.
We won't, but maybe someone wants to ask a question or two. Is that okay?
The one who didn't leave. Yes. Left.
Any questions for Anat before we finish for this next movie?
One question which you didn't answer. What was it so terrible, the thing you said after the election that has bothered you for all this year? What did you actually say?
I was criticizing.
I was very criticized. And you know, the things that I said then,
What did you criticize?
the way
the party,
the way the party act, the way the things happening. And now those things I said 4 years ago, it's nothing. It's nothing. But the worst thing is nobody say anything. We all shut our mouths because we're afraid. That's the situation. And it's really sad.
Yes.
Yes.
Any more questions? What's going to happen now when you go back? What's your future plans?
I'm doing theater for 35 years. I'm in main theaters. I did Några, you know Några? The third one took the Ibsen and did it shortly and strong. I'm doing all kinds of classical, Shakespeare, Ibsen, whatever, you know. But now I prefer the Israeli plays because some of them are very good. And
this is what you
no, it's a joke. The next play I'm playing in, it's
settlers.
You know,
she's playing a settler. Religious settlers.
Religious people
in the settlement.
Yes, and they find a box, and the box only opened when the father's finger touch it, and they find a song, and when they read the song, the father, the religious man starts speak Arabic.
Wow.
This is the situation. It's a religious family.
In the occupied West Bank.
Yes, and they have, and the father become an Arabic, and it's an Israeli, and it's very funny and odd, and that's the things now I love to do, Israeli play.
Anat Waxman, thank
you.